We're a community where news and information is created by our team of journalists. We ask tough questions and we simplify the science so that anyone can understand. We don't only cover disease, but delve into the latest research on what it takes to keep our brains healthy. Aside from the experts, we also interview people diagnosed with dementia. Being Patient Perspectives looks at that first-person perspective of people living with dementia. Welcome to Being Patient Perspectives. I'm Deborah Kahn, and thank you and welcome to our community for joining us. We have a really special talk today that was initiated by my good friend, Geri Taylor, who is, you can see Jim and Geri on your screen right now. But before we get to that, I want to introduce everyone who's joining us today. This group has really influenced me on this journey to provide better information on Alzheimer's and dementia. Four exceptional people, three with dementia, and I'd like to introduce you to all of them. Mike Belleville, who some of you may know, has been diagnosed with Lewy body dementia. Arthena Caston, who is has been also on Being Patient and also diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, as well as Geri Taylor with her husband Jim. Geri has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and Jim is a great advocate to get more people into clinical trials and the partner of Geri. So welcome to all of you. I wholeheartedly mean it when I say that you're four of my favorite people I've met on this journey. So thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be here and very flattered and honored to be in the company of these other individuals.
Great to be here, Deborah.
So first, let me give all of the people watching today a little bit of background about how this segment came about. We had published a story about dementia and driving, and Jim wrote me the kindest email of criticism, saying that the tone of the article seemed a little bit patronizing to people who have been diagnosed with dementia, but however, they still drive. And we really were writing it from to a caregiver audience. So I thanked Jim and thought a lot about that, because in so many ways, myself, a daughter of dementia, a mother with dementia, I'm sure I have inadvertently said things or done things that may have hurt her feelings, or which was completely unintended. And I really believe that once you have dementia, there's probably, once you've been diagnosed, there's probably a lot that you can teach all of us who have loved ones who have been impacted, or for, people who you just know who have been diagnosed. So I thought it would be really worthy for us to really turn the spotlight on people with dementia and understand from that first-person perspective what it's like to live with that diagnosis and that stigma, for that matter. So that's how we came together, a team effort here. And I want to go around to each of you, but Mike, let me start with you, because I know that you are often vocal on social media about maybe the way things are phrased or the way things are worded when it comes to talking about people with dementia. So can you just start with this and give us a perspective from your point of view, and perhaps maybe some of the things that have been hard for you since you've received a diagnosis in terms of the way people treat you?
Sure. That's a loaded question, and I'm sure each of us could take an hour just talking about it. But I think the biggest challenge, for me and most of us, is as soon as you tell someone you have a dementia diagnosis, especially if it's somebody you haven't seen for a long time, who may not know, or even a stranger, their automatic assumption is that you're automatically in the latter progressions of the disease. that you're not capable of doing things that you used to do before, that you're not capable of learning new things. They talk slower to you. Some of them may talk louder to you. I mean, it's just a laundry list of things that go on and on and on. And I got to be honest with you, when I was first diagnosed, I put myself in that same category. It's ironic that Jim talked about the driving situation, because this July will make 8 years since my diagnosis. I hadn't driven since then until just recently. And ironically, it was the same time that the Alzheimer's Association had published an article in their quarterly magazine called Hanging Up the Keys. I swear to you, I did not do it on purpose, but I was featured in the article, and that very same month, I decided to go get my license back again, my driver's license, for a lot of reasons. But the biggest reason was I needed my independence back. And I'm still capable of doing it. So there was just a little part of me that did it just to show people that even with this diagnosis, you can still do things. So it's a lot about perception. It's a lot about misinformation and lack of education about the diagnosis itself.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable. I remember from my own family an experience when my mom got her diagnosis, and she'd always taken care of the accounting for one of our homes, and we were talking around her, and we didn't mean to do it, but it made her so upset. And I think that was my first realization that we were treating her in a very different way, and in a way that signaled to her she wasn't as capable as she was. And it wasn't, of course, done intentionally, but it was done because we thought that we were assuming other responsibilities. But what you point out, I think, is so important, and that is not the end or the later stage of dementia, when somebody really does need full-time care. It's the stigma we're talking about, because you can have a diagnosis of dementia and live in a very capable way for many years until the later stages. So I remember, Jim and Geri, you telling me a little bit about that. Can you, Geri, tell me a little bit about that first? Because Geri, I mean, you had a big job. You oversaw healthcare. You were like pardon my French, a kick-ass woman in a good, a very important role, very capable career woman. So, what was that like for you when you first received the diagnosis and started to tell people about it? Oh, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
I think I had a soft landing. Probably part of the my being in the business. I kind of walked in with how to be in the situation. But Jim just reminded me to one of the interesting points. About a couple of years ago, I needed to go to the doctor to fix up something around my neck or whatever. And as I'm laying there on the, Gertie or whatever it is, and he kept talking to me because I have Alzheimer's, because we're pretty open about that, especially when you go to the hospital. And so I no longer existed.
Kept talking to Jim.
Yeah, he kept talking to Jim. And it's my neck and my ability to understand it. So yeah, even in the best of situations where you're sort of in the clan, it comes up and it diminishes, yes, that word, that diminishes, your own ability to work yourself. And that really takes you off.
What did you do in that circumstance, Geri? Did you call him out on it, or did you just continue? I mean, and let
No.
him talk to Jim?
I don't remember the exact words, but I remember I didn't go back and it wasn't pleasant.
It's interesting, Deborah. Geri was audacious enough to question what he wanted to do, and he was not an American doctor. So Geri wrote the original in the 1970s, first article about second opinion. But he, I think, was trained overseas and didn't like to be questioned. And so here he was being asked about his opinion, and he responded only to me. So it was pretty ironic. I think she let him know. But you know, you summed it up so well, Deborah. I thought when you said that people automatically, for so many years, people have hidden the disease because of the stigma as long as possible. And therefore, society viewed someone with Alzheimer's as in the late stage, because only people would come out when they couldn't hide the symptoms anymore. But because the stigma has diminished, and these three wonderful people on the screen here are working, and you, very hard to diminish it continually, I think people have the courage now to come out earlier, but people dumb them down. Geri wrote one of her presentations recently, or a year or two ago, was called "We're Not Stupid." You know, that's often the reaction. And so that's something I'm sure all these three people have had to work against.
Yeah, absolutely. And does that ring true for you, Arthena? Like everything does that resonate?
It does resonate. The thing about me though, Deborah, is that people that know me know that I'm very outspoken. I am very outspoken. I say whatever. My husband, I tease people, and I always say I will talk to a door. If the door will talk back, I will tell them. I have no problem. The same thing happened to me that happened to Geri about the doctor, because my husband always goes with me when I go places or goes to speak to a doctor, and they tend to want to speak. But that happened to me before I even got the diagnosis of the Alzheimer's. They tend to want to speak to my husband. And then I just kindly said, but I'm sitting right here. I mean, I can hear. I don't need you to talk to my husband. Talk to me about what you want to say. And the doctor was like, yeah, but I don't know if you understand. Really? I'm always amazed when I talk to like Mike. I went to meet my daughter's future in-laws this weekend, and they were fine. They didn't. My daughter had never told them I had Alzheimer's, and then all of a sudden, when I was telling about a walk that I was ready to participate in, and the father was like, "Okay," and then I just went on to tell him about. Also, all of a sudden, the whole subject just changed. It was like all of a sudden, you weren't talking to me, you were talking at me. He was like, I would have never known. Oh my God. Then it was like a whole different thing. I'm still the same person. I am still the same person. And I can talk to anybody about anything, whether I'm saying the right words at the right time. I'm still the same person that I was. So
do you feel, and I asked this to all of you really, but do you feel that it's really that initial diagnosis and educating people about really like, okay, I have been diagnosed, but I'm the same person, but does it get worse? Because I mean, all of you have had a diagnosis now relatively for a 5 years plus, right? If I'm not, Mike, you're 8. Geri, how long has it been for you?
12.
12 years. And Arthena, how many years has it been for you?
5.
Okay, so 5 plus. Is it getting worse or better? Because I mean, obviously the dementia has not impacted severely your communication skills, right? When I talk to all of you, we still hold normal conversations. And so do you feel that it's the initial shock and then people can get over it and they see that you are still very capable, or does that present kind of a wedge that's really hard to overcome?
I think was an initial shock. I think it's initial shock with me because people automatically, again, when they think about the Alzheimer's, they think about people in the later stages. They don't, it's not this part of our life where we are now. They don't even see that. The only thing they automatically see is the person who's sitting at home all day watching Leave It a Beaver. That's what they see. And that's what they're looking for. So when they meet people like us who are younger who have it, they automatically think, oh my gosh, I must have missed something the whole way. You know, I can be honest, my father had it. And by the time when we started recognizing his symptoms and what was going on with him, it was already in that stage of the Leave It a Beaver. I mean, I knew something was wrong. We just didn't know what was going on with it. So I kind of it is the initial shock, but people who know me, and once they get to know me, they're like, I just can't believe, they say it over and over and over. I can't believe you have Alzheimer's. I can't believe that. I just can't believe. You hear that, I'm like over and over and over and over. And I'm like, really? And then
does that upset you when people say that? Because I know I've said that to people, like, I can't believe you have Alzheimer's. Like, is that rude to say?
No, I mean, I just wonder why. But then again, I always have to think back before I got the diagnosis, how I would have felt. I mean, I'm being realistic. We all have to say, if a person had told us who at 51 and said, oh my gosh, I have Alzheimer's, I'd have been like, really? I can't believe that, because that's not what you're looking at. You're looking at, and we all know we're looking at the Leave It a Beaver stage, or that's the stage with the wheelchair bound. That's what we're looking at. So now it's like, because there's so many people now who have Alzheimer's at such a younger age, who are able to talk and do the same things that they do, it's beginning to be almost a normal part, in my opinion. I think I might be wrong in this one, but I think once they, it's like, oh, okay, I still can't believe it, but I understand. That's the way it goes with me.
So, Mike, do you get upset when people say you don't seem like you have dementia? Is that offensive?
It used to be. I used to pull out the old foghorn leghorn. For folks who don't know, it's kind of like, listen to me, boy, listen to me when I'm talking to you. But now I tell them thank you. And I'll ask them, do they have any questions or any concerns, or what made them even say that to begin with? I really think it's almost a double-edged sword for us, and especially because when appearance-wise and talking-wise, we're doing pretty well. But when people see us during our downtimes, it's almost automatically assumed. I'll just give an example. If I'm trying to do something on a computer, or if I'm trying to do something cooking and I'm getting frustrated and I'm getting angry, oh, well, Mike can't do that anymore. It's automatically assumed that, oh, the disease is, and it could just be I'm having an off day. It's got nothing to do with the darn disease, right? It is what it is. Right. So I understand when I say a double-edged sword, because I understand it's tough for care partners and family and everybody else to see us going through struggles, but let us continue to try. Let us continue to attempt to do the things we want to do. Don't just assume because we had a bad day, that means that part of our life is over. Mm-hmm. And
that's a really good way to put it.
Nothing could be further from the truth.
What about friendships with people? Is it hard to maintain friendships once you have a diagnosis? Jim, Geri, did relationships change with close friends?
Actually, I've been very fortunate, and I had a group of friends coming together mostly for book groups, very lady thing. And that was a very good thing for my coming out. And that group has continued, and they're very careful to make sure, the time and so forth. And, they speak faster. I don't know that it's better thoughts, but mine isn't so fast. And, when they get a little bit, going too fast and everything, somebody will say, wait, Derek can't get that, And I kind of love that because, it isn't like having, a disease that goes in a month. We're around, we're part of the, the community. And we act that way, just slower. So I was fortunate to have an embedded group of people. And we have a few people in the family as well. So that makes it easier to be with people.
What about for you, Mike?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The
again?
question was, was it harder to maintain friendships once you had a diagnosis?
I think it was in the beginning. A lot of people that I thought I was really close with, which was mostly, to be honest with you, my work relationships, just kind of faded away. I do have a couple of close friends that I am still very close with. Thankfully, they haven't disappeared. But, what I learned was that, something like that bothered me for a long time. But I'm actually closer with Geri and Jim and Arthena and people that I've met online through this journey of ours. I mean, I consider them family. I truly do. I'm closer with the majority of these folks than I am some of my own siblings. And if my siblings are listening, too bad. It is what it is.
That's, and that's wonderful to hear. And I actually can really relate to that too, because since I've started being patient, I feel like I have this whole new pool of friends, which has been amazing. What about you, Arthena? I mean, you're an advocate. You go out there and you talk, you inspire people. I once labeled you as the happiest person with Alzheimer's I know. Very inspiring to people. What about you? Did relationships change? I mean, with family, husband, you always talk about how wonderful your husband is. So I'm assuming things only got better.
He is. My friendship, it is just like Mike. I started a friendship with some people that have an early stage group with Alzheimer's. Those are my best friends. Those are my best friends. I mean, it was 9 of us in a group and we are like sisters and brothers. My closest friends, I have 2 or 3 friends that were very, very close, that I was very close with. They're still really close. We've been friends over 30 years. We're really close. But the new friends that I picked up with, I'm closer to them than any other group. And I love that because they know what I'm going through. They understand what I'm going through. They may call and say, you're having an off day. I'm having an off day today. And they understand what I'm saying. Whereas if you tell somebody else that's not really understanding what, you have an off day, they kind of think, maybe this is the time that she's moving down, and everybody has off days. So I can say the 2 friends, I actually was did an article a couple of days ago for, I think, the Wall Street Journal or New York Post, so I don't know who it was, talking about friendships with Alzheimer's. And my thing is, understand me for who I am. I'm the same person. I am the very same person that you knew before. I might be a little slower with some things, talk a little slower, it takes a little more time to understand, but I am the same person. And my husband, oh my gosh, he is still, our relationship has gotten better because he is more of a person who will take the time to say, are you okay? How you feeling today? And we all go through that. So I wouldn't trade him for nothing in the world. We even work together now. He gave me a little part-time job at his store. So that's
Wow.
I was just actually running in for my part-time job when this came on. So let me work with him so we're together in the daytime, and then we're together 8-9 hours a day. So I don't know what to say about it now. I don't know. I guess I'll keep him. I guess I will. He's a keeper.
I have to say, like, if you can really work with your husband, I think that's a true testament to a strong marriage.
I'm telling you, it's like, okay, he's a keeper, because he has really stepped up to the plate with this journey. I know it's a journey for him. It's a journey for both of us. It's a journey for my whole family, as with all of us. But he always says, you know, every time I know I've told you this before, that he's always said that God put him on this earth to take care of me. And that's what he's here for. So, because he always says that, but he knew it happened. If it was the roles were reversed, I would do the same for him. He's a keeper. He's a keeper.
You know, and I have to say, the people who I talk to who are doing the best on this journey are the people who have wonderful companions, right? Who were like, I always point to Jim and Geri, just because I love how both of you are, you're a tag team, you know. It's like, okay, Geri has a diagnosis, but Jim is a force, and you're a force together, you know. And I always think that's just, it's just an awesome thing. So it really is a pattern, I think.
He's a keeper, girl. He's a keeper.
I'd like to add a caveat to that, though, Deborah, and that's, I mean, I know some single individuals who are going through this journey alone, who are doing extremely well. And I honestly think the biggest reason is because we're all staying socially engaged. We're staying connected. We're staying active. We're doing things that are meaningful to us. I mean, we've all sat on committees and councils and all these types of things, and they're not token, you know, type of, oh yeah, we have that covered, because they actually, the people, fortunately, that we're working with are taking us seriously. And I truly think that means a lot.
Or sometimes they think we're tokens, and oh my gosh, they soon find out that
They're not. You're not.
Right.
Force of nature.
Right.
Tell me, you know, one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this segment is because, as I mentioned, I'm sure I'm guilty as the next person, and it's never ill intent, but it's more ignorance, right? And so can you share with us maybe something, an incident or some things that we may have not thought of, just to make us aware? What is it that really irks you? What has happened? I mean, you mentioned a few things, people talking to like you're not there, you know. Are there other things that we need to be aware of?
I'll go first if you want. I think something that people take for granted or don't even consider is that we feed off of our caregivers, our partners, our family, our, you know, whoever. And what I mean by that is, if my wife Cheryl comes home from work and she's had a real stressful day and she needs to vent. I mean, she needs to let it out, so to speak, but not realizing that all the time, you know, in certain circumstances, it may not be the best idea to do with me. It might be a good idea to do with someone else who she can talk to and vent to. Because if I could be in a perfectly good mood, and if she comes home and she's agitated and she's nervous and she hasn't even said anything to me, I can pick up on that vibe. And all of a sudden, my stress goes up, my anxiety goes up, my agitation goes up. It's almost like a little animal running around the room, so to speak. And I feed off of that type of energy. So for folks who may not even think about it, any stress that you're going through, I guarantee you're transferring that to your loved one and giving them undue stress. So
That is a very valid point. What about you, Geri? Do you have anything to share, or did you want to comment on that?
I'm not really coming up with in that regard, except you know, there are these organizations have these huge meetings and so forth, and people are very polite, but I don't feel like I am in the crowd of the more important things that are working out for these organizations. And I'm making a very global start, but it's just a feeling. I feel sometimes, here comes the person with Alzheimer's, that's why we're there for 1,000 people. And there's a politeness, but not a feeling that they want to go in and actually talk for an idea, because they still have ideas. But that's kind of
And I don't get the same reaction.
yeah, no, Jim, you want to say that? Yes, I think that's important.
I think sometimes
Yeah.
Geri feels I get more regard than she does, and it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that when you have Alzheimer's, you don't have ideas. And I think I've probably put that on myself as much as the reality.
So I have to ask you,
I do-
Arthena, did you want to add to anything before I ask the next question?
No, I just, the only thing that I think mine is a lot like Geri's. The only thing I think that bothers me is sometimes when I tell people that I have Alzheimer's and then they want to act like I don't.
Right.
That's
Elephant
crazy.
in the room.
Yeah, they want to be the ones that ask me to do a bunch of things, but you're the token person. I hate being the token person.
Right.
I hate being the token person. And that happens a lot to me. But it's happening not only because of the issues with Alzheimer's and the color of my skin or the race, but it also happens because you don't want to believe when you ask me, you say how, and I say 51, and they go, oh, no, not 51. And I'm thinking, that can't be, or they'll say, that can't be for real. That can't be for real. Are you sure? And I'm thinking,
would I make this up?
It's like I just made the story up at 51 to say, to go to the doctor. They told me I had Alzheimer's. Now that just takes me over the top, I think.
Yeah.
I want to flip the question a little bit, because I know all of you have talked about let's pretend we're talking to an audience of doctors who are seeing people with dementia. To different degrees, there's been problems with diagnosis and everything. So what's the message we should put out there to doctors or who are seeing patients or people who have been diagnosed? What's the message?
I got to be first on this one.
Okay, go for it.
Please, when you get ready to tell me, or you find out I have Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever, stop telling me and everybody else to go home and get your house in order. I promise everybody that I have talked to says the same thing. Stop telling me that. Because when you tell me that, it automatically, even if I was on this high and you tell me that, it just brings it down right then. Don't tell me that, because the day that they told me that, even though I'm a very happy person, I came home and I was just like done. When he said, go home, I'm giving you 5 to 8 years to live. Go home and get your house in order. Don't tell people that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
And that's a really poignant point, because that's what most people say, because they're saying, okay, you're okay right now, but who knows how much longer, so put everything in order, right? And that is a very deflating message, and I can completely empathize with that when I hear it coming from you. And before, I might have read the top 10 things to do when you have an Alzheimer's diagnosis, and get your things in order is one of those. I guarantee it. Right. But that's
I didn't mind getting my house in order, Deborah, but don't tell me as if I have tomorrow. Don't do that, because you don't see it the way I see it. You know,
Right.
you just don't. And I bet if I ask Mike, I ask Geri and Jim, they'll say the same thing. I know y'all gonna say the same thing.
Is it okay, Mike? What? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
Maybe it's different whether you hear the words from a neurologist or from a general practitioner.
Mhm.
And a majority of people hear it from a GP, and who they're not experts in dementia. And that's just a small part of their general practice. But from a neurologist, you would think you would get a more enlightened handling of informing you. But that's, I think, not the case. Very often it's diagnosed and adios, because if there's no medication they can give you now that slows or cures or prevents the disease. There's some that mitigate the symptoms, and that may change soon. But you know, when we were diagnosed, Geri took it very well. I did not take it well at all. She has had the family experience and her health background, but I was depressed and really uncommunicative for a number of weeks. But you know, it would help so much if the referring physician could say, well, you know, here are resources. Go to the Alzheimer's Association, go to your local support group. Here's online where you can go and learn about the disease. And for heaven's sakes, please continue or consider being in a clinical trial. These are all such positive things and so easy, and should be memorized, and should even be the GP's response. And so many people don't join clinical trials. Why? My doctor didn't recommend it. I'm not sure it's good for me. And that's just doesn't make any sense. So I think there's a lot we can do, just like Arthena said, to educate and help with that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And because clinical trials in a lot of ways are in inspiring and empowering, right? And you get a lot of care as well from the treatment. Mike, what about you? I mean, it took you, it was, you know, with Lewy body, it was a hard thing to diagnose and I know you've seen many doctors and it took a number of years. But what's your message to the doctors out there?
Everything that everybody just said. I guess I would summarize it for me is stop the doom and gloom. Stop the, you know, the tragedy narrative. Yes, this disease, we all know what the end game is here. You don't have to tell us. But instead, try giving us a little bit of hope instead of despair. And no doctor knows how long the progression is going to take. So stop telling us to go home. Like Arthena said, stop telling us, go home and get your affairs in order. One doctor looked at Cheryl and told her I'd be in a nursing home in 3 to 5 years. We did things based on that information because he was our doctor. Wrong information, you know, obviously. So, you know, everything with, you know, what they just said, you know, talk about clinical trials. Yes, this is not the best, you know, news I want to give you, but you can still live a meaningful, purposeful life. You can still contribute to society. There's things you can still do and get engaged with. Find out whatever your creative outlet is and get connected with people. I mean, I apologize if you've heard me say this before, but I truly believe the number one prescription doctor should be giving a person with a dementia diagnosis is social engagement. It's not a pill.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, we'll take our medication, but they should be getting connected, socially engaged.
It's one of the most eye-opening interviews I've done with an expert was with a scientist from UC Irvine who's running the 90+ study, right? And I asked her, you know, if you had to sum up one thing that someone can do they've been studying 90+ people for almost 20 years now, what would it be? And she said 8 hours of social engagement a day, because even people with And the pathology, like plaques in their brain, like after autopsy, they discovered they had the pathology of plaques and tangles. They did not see a single symptom of Alzheimer's. And so that social engagement is such an important factor to just better aging, like forget dementia, just like let's all keep talking, it's obviously we're meant to be social creatures. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I just want to ask you, and I know we're getting short on time, but I want to ask you about the term patient. Does that drive you nuts when people call you a patient?
Well, when you're in the chair there, yes, that's fine.
When you're in the chair seeing at a doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
But does it bother you? I mean, Mike, does it bother you when we talk about people with dementia as patients?
Absolutely, because we're being marginalized. We're automatically being put in a different category than someone else. Especially, we're not looked at as normal people. And I mean, we have enough stigmas as we already are. Don't put more barriers in front of us, and words matter. I mean, sorry for folks who may not think that, but words do matter. And I am a patient of my doctors, but that's it. And that's where the line stops.
Yeah, that's important. So I just want to say, I think this type of conversation is so important, and I really value all of you for taking the time and really talking to us, because I think these are the type of things you really remember, and it really just takes awareness, and just we need to understand, like I just really value all of your perspectives. I think the next time, like I said, I've been guilty as well with my mom, but just making us aware is just that much better, because a lot of times I think it's very inadvertent, and a diagnosis of dementia is stigmatized, and it shouldn't be, as you've all proven so well. So
Deborah, could I just say, your response to my email to you is just amazing. That you would consider something and come back with this group of people to address a point that had been raised to you. And your ongoing website and weekly newsletters are just terrific. So I know I speak for the four of us in saying how grateful we are to you and what you started up and initiated totally on your own, and how amazingly successful you've been in 2 years. It's just a wonderful thing that you're doing.
Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really, but I mean, sorry,
Can we
Mike,
give a shout out to Phil, who couldn't make it this far? I know Phil was going to be here, but just let him know we're saying hi, Phil. We're thinking.
Absolutely. We love Phil. And for those of you who don't know, I'm sure everyone knows, if you're on Being Patient, you'll know Phil. Phil is a really wonderful journalist who is on our team, who regularly writes for Being Patient. So we're enormously grateful to him. He was supposed to be here, but unfortunately a conflict came up, so he wasn't able to, but we'll get him another time. And I really mean this. We should keep this conversation going. So if things happen to you and you think, that was an example, just come back to us and let us know, and we can be the communicators. So thank you so much for your time and all of your thoughts, and I mean it. I hugely respect all of you, so thank you so much for taking the time to be on Being Patient.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So talk to you soon, and everyone take care. And to our audience, sign up for our newsletters, find out more about these type of talks. We really value your opinion as well. Let us know what you want to talk about and what you want to hear, who you want to hear from. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you.
Yeah,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. For more information on upcoming interviews, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at beingpatient.com. That's beingpatient.com. And send us any feedback you may have, whether it's someone you want us to interview or any comment about our podcast series. You can do so by emailing info@beingpatient.com. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm Deborah Kahn.